Hi there and welcome back. I'm Sarah, your registered dietitian and the author of the Surfing the Urge activity book. In our previous video, we addressed physiological roots of food cravings, how it impacts our mood and energy, and some interventions related to stabilizing blood sugar so those blood sugar highs and lows don't drive more food cravings. So if you haven't watched that video and you want to, definitely go back and watch it. But in today's video, we're going to be building on that topic. We are going to address the core principles behind the activity book, Surfing the Urge. And in fact, we are going to address just that, how to surf the urge. To do so, we will be looking at pages 102 and coloring page 148. So if you have your book and your colored pencils, grab them and maybe a glass of water or a cup of tea, and let's get going. So in the activity book, in the table of contents, you can see that there's different sections. So part 1 is exploring food cravings, part 2 is getting to know hunger, and part 3 is surfing the urge. So today we're going to flip ahead to the section Surfing the Urge. This is essentially what this book is about, is how do we surf the urge of food cravings. And so on page 102, we are going to talk about dealing with food cravings using the 6D approach. All right, so using the 6D approach, we're going to do first we're going to determine, and that is question the facts. Do you really need the food, or is it just a want? So sometimes when we have food cravings, we are legitimately hungry, or our blood sugar is low. In that situation, you really do need to eat something to stabilize your blood sugar so you can stabilize your mood and energy. So sometimes a craving is really a call to action. But then again, as we know, not always, right? We can oftentimes have cravings simply because we see a food on TV, or we're driving past a restaurant, or we just randomly think of a food, or we are stressed or have anxiety or something like that, and our brain is habituated to think of certain types of food or certain foods to calm down those cravings and shift our mood or energy, right? So first off, if you are having a craving, just determine, is this truly something that I need to fulfill? If you know in your heart of hearts that it's not, then move on. But it's not that easy to move on, is it? It's not. So the next thing I want you to do is describe to yourself what the experience was the last time you ate that food. What was the outcome? So let's say you are having a food craving and it's something like, I don't know, M&Ms or Twinkies or gummy bears, just something that you know really is just a fun food. It tastes jazzy, but it's definitely not nutritious. Reflect on what it felt like to eat it the last time, and then also what the outcome was. And oftentimes when we truly eat something in a craving sort of like way, we are generally not very mindful about how we're eating it. So if you're thinking, okay, here I am craving Coca-Cola again. Yeah, what was the outcome last time? I don't know, I just guzzled it. That's when you want to step back and be like, okay, I'm really not even tuning into the experience of ingesting this item. Maybe the outcome of a craving was that you noticed you ate too many of something, and then afterwards you had a tummy ache, or you felt overly full and in pain in your body, or you just felt emotionally kind of guilty because you're like, oh, here I go again, doing the thing that I don't want to do, right? So just reflect on how it felt and what the experience was the last time, because oftentimes that can help either confirm why you do need to eat or why you want to continue to surf the urge. You can also take these steps in different order, by the way, but we're just going to keep moving on. So the next thing on the list is delay. And delay would be basically set a timer and see if you're still having that craving after 20 minutes. So if you are walking from one part of your home to another and you walk through the kitchen and you think, oh, I have ice cream in the freezer, and that triggers a craving, you maybe don't really want or need that ice cream at that time, but you just sort of like remembered it because it was in your field of vision. So that would be an example of when it would be a good opportunity to delay a craving. Or let's say you're hungry, you're driving home from work, you drive past a fast food restaurant, and all of a sudden you're like, ooh, I want fill in the blank. Rather than fulfilling that craving, I would delay it, get home, actually start, maybe have a snack, something starting off with something that has some protein, and then start making dinner. See if you still want that craving. I know it would be highly inconvenient to actually get home and then realize you still want to fulfill that craving and leave the house. But what we're trying to do with the 60s is reduce the impulsiveness and the compulsiveness around food choices that are not supportive of our long-term health goals, right? So I'm just going to say that again because it's worth repeating. With the 60s, we are trying to reduce the impulsiveness and the compulsiveness around diving into food cravings when they really are not in alignment with our health goals. All right, so next on the list is distract. So if you've decided that you want to avoid eating, then concentrate on something else. That could be watching a movie, that could be going for a walk, it could be calling someone on the phone, it could be coloring. There's so many things you can do to distract yourself. Heck, it could be cleaning out the fridge, and then you're like, yeah, I really don't feel like eating now that I'm dealing with cleaning food stuff. Whatever it is, the idea is to distract yourself. The next on the list is distance. So create space between yourself and the tempting food. And this really does work because there's something called mental hunger, some type of like proximity, and it's oftentimes an unconscious thing that will prompt us to want to eat. And so knowing that you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to create distance by going into another room while my partner eats their bowl of ice cream because I just had dinner. I'm physically full. I really don't have room in my tummy nor want ice cream right now. So I'm just going to create a little space, distance myself for a minute. Or another example of distancing yourself is not bringing things like a package of cookies into the house if you know that they're quite tempting. So it's just creating a little distance, if that makes sense. And then lastly is decide. So decide if you're going to eat, and if you do decide to eat whatever the food you are craving is, then eat in a way that's in alignment with your health goals. And that would mean slowing down, being mindful and intentional about what you're eating and how much you're eating it. And with what. And so I always kind of like to give an example of this because I think this one is a little bit blurry and it's also a subjective experience. So this is something for you to decide on how you want to execute it. But basically, the example that I like to give is if we're having a craving for a burger from Red Robin, we may go to Red Robin and have the burger rather than having a cheeseburger, fries, and a soda or milkshake. We say, okay, I'm really just craving the burger. So I like the bread. So I'm gonna get a burger, I'm not gonna get a sweet drink with it, and I'm gonna get like a broccoli side. Yes, they serve broccoli with their burgers. Or maybe, like me, you're like, I could really care less about bread, but I do like potatoes. So I'm gonna get a burger that's lettuce wrapped. I'm gonna kind of chop it up into a burger salad or eat it with the lettuce wrap. And rather than getting my carb from the bread, the thing that I'm craving, I'm gonna have some carb from the fries. And this way we're bringing a bit more balance to the meal, eating in a way that is in alignment with our health goals. That could be eating one piece of chocolate instead of 5 pieces of chocolate. So if you decide that you are going to eat something, just eat with presence. Eat with presence, be mindful, really be in the experience, and think. Think about, how can I eat this in a way that truly is in alignment with my health goals? So when I'm done eating, on the other side of the fence, I'm not ending up going, oh my gosh, here I went again. I completely overdid it. I had a milkshake, I had fries, I had the burger, I ate too quick. I walked out of the restaurant feeling bloated, stuffed, lethargic, went home, laid around. That at all was not supportive of my health goals to lose weight or manage my blood sugar or eat less sodium and lower my blood pressure, whatever the goal is. So eat in a way that's supportive of your health goals will really calm down that post-meal guilt and shame that we can oftentimes feel. Okay? So now we're going to go ahead and shift over to page 148. And we're going to practice 3 of those D's: delay, distract, and distance. So we're going to go ahead and take some time and do some coloring, okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm laying down a little bright yellow on the tips of the flowers, and then I'm going to go in with a really light yellow and color the petals. These flowers remind me of the cone flowers I have growing in my garden. And since it's late in the season, they're starting to fade and not be as vibrant. So I'm actually going to try and render some like faded cone flowers as the like fall is setting in and the petals are starting to fade away. So I'll be layering in some pale yellows and some different shades of red to try and capture the color scheme that I see in the garden. as you can see, I left this one flower plain. So I decided to do the other ones, like I said, kind of like the flowers are fading for the season. And this one I'm gonna color how I remember the original flowers looking. They were like a very deep, vibrant red. And the center, rather than like fading to a darker color, was a bit more bright orange. So that's how I'm gonna make this one. And I think just sort of looking at this a little poetically, I like the combination of like the new fresh flower and then the old like faded flower. I think that's just a fun contrast for this small little pattern. All right, so if you've been with me, we just really surfed the urge by getting into coloring some flowers and really being mindful about what we were trying to represent, just losing ourselves in it. It's been about 20 minutes, so now you can fairly assess if you still have the same food craving, where if you're relaxed like I am from coloring and you're just ready to go do something else and you've completely let go of that. So anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this.